I have with me a Serbian gentleman by the name of Johnny. He wants to express to me some disagreement that he has with a recent video that I uploaded in which I showed one of the highest ranking military commanders in the German military saying that Russia is the biggest threat to Germany. And I added to that this is a sign that Germany and Russia are still enemies, and that Germany is working for Germany is preparing for a war with the Russians. So Jovan or Johnny, sorry, I called you I called you by your Serbian name, but Johnny,
Yeah, that's the problem.
yeah. So Johnny, go ahead and tell me your thoughts, and then I will respond.
Yeah, basically, Johnny, it's much simpler for people, for foreigners to pronounce than my real name. So, hi from Serbia. Basically, I'm a hobbyist who likes to watch a lot of geopolitics and all the stuff that's going around. The reason is I live in a very peaceful and quiet part of the world called Balkans, and basically every shit that happens eventually comes here, or it starts from here. So basically that's kind of my introduction.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the main kind of crux of the video that I had like the problem is I think the things are a lot more complicated than just okay. There are some far right people in Germany, so they are against Russia. Well, the title of his video was NATO. Okay, excuse me. Russia is the biggest enemy to the NATO and Germany. I agree with half of that sentence. So I agree with part of the sentence that it's the biggest enemy to the NATO because Russia is one of the few countries that really can give a middle finger to NATO because they don't rely economically on any foreign power. They are internally sufficient. They are kind of have the kind of closed economy. But with Germany, things are a little bit more complicated. So here is the thing. Here's what I think. A lot of the far right German people are kind of really pro-Russia and like surprisingly pro-Russia. A lot of the far right Germans are kind of sick and tired of being under the boot of US. You know, basically being the kind of occupied zone, and they want to kind of have their own independence, if that makes any sense.
They want their
You know, pro-
independence from the United States, yes, from
yeah,
American
I
power.
mean, they want more autonomy,
They
basically.
want what?
You know, more autonomy, their
Autonomy, yeah.
autonomy. Yeah, yeah. Uh, Basically, and they kind of see how Russia is kind of giving a middle finger to the US and to the NATO, and I wouldn't say they're envy, but they're seeing that as a kind of maybe we can copy some of those things,
Okay.
and yeah, so they're kind of really sympathetic to kind of to Russians, and the thing how I know that is the the eastern part of the German, where the excuse me, what's the name of the party?
AFD.
AFD. Yeah, yeah, FD. Yeah, that party is extremely popular at the eastern part of the Germany.
Yes.
That same part of eastern Germany
Mm-hmm.
was giving and sending average people, first of all, average people to like Bitcoin and stuff like that. They were sending a lot of money to the Russian fighters, even before the kind of the even before the the kind of official beginning of the Ukrainian war, when it was like in 2014 when it started. They started sending a lot of money, and there was a lot of support from Eastern Russia. So that's one of the things that personally is telling me that that really kind of far right people in Germany, yes, they may be far right, but I don't think they are against Russia. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you can we can kind of continue if
Sure.
things. Yeah.
Sure. So what I'll say to that is, yes, you do have people in East Germany who are sympathetic to Russia, and I think some of that goes back to the fact that Eastern Germany was once under the Soviet Union, and believe it or not, they are Germans who have East Germans who have nostalgia uh, for Russia, for the Soviet Union. That definitely does exist. But at the same time, there is an element within the AFD that is Nazistic. And that's something that I think is really impossible not to acknowledge because just given the facts about the party. So, for example,
Hmm.
uh, you have within the AFD party, Bjorn Holke, who has written articles that are sympathetic to the Third Reich. He used to write under a pen name. The pen name was Landolf Ladig, and he
Hmm.
praised the Third Reich. So my point is, if the Nazi element within the AFD dominates the party, and that ideological element takes full power in Germany, it will not be nice to the Russians. It might be temporarily, but we have seen that story before with World War II, in which you had the Soviet Union and the Third Reich making a non-aggression agreement, and the Germans and the Soviets still went to war. Now you're going to say, well, that's different, blah blah blah. Okay, fine, but history doesn't exactly repeat, but it does rhyme, like I always say. So, for example, there is.
Can I? Yeah. Okay. Continue. But I really want to interject.
You want to
Uh,
interject? Okay, go ahead.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. There is a big possibility that is just like the kind of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. There is just like uh, that big possibility. But I think that like relationship, and it's like a really tricky relationship between Russia and Germany. It goes much further than the World War II and World War One actually, because you can look World War Two as extension of World War One.
Mm-hmm.
During the kind of Tsarist Russia, most of the princesses that were German. I
Most
don't
of
know
the
if you know
Who,
that.
most of the Who were
Uh,
German.
uh, when Tsar marries
Oh, you're talking
his
about the
wife.
royal family, right? Like the
Yeah,
ruling,
yeah,
the ruling. Yeah, I agree
yeah,
with you. Yes, yeah. Even the English royal family is descendant from Germans.
yeah. Like, like there were like tons and tons of German princesses who were like in the royal family.
Mm-hmm.
So it's more complicated than just that. I think that
Yeah.
Nazis,
Okay, go ahead. I'm gonna
yeah,
respond to that, but I'll let you finish.
yeah, I think that Nazis bring different type of kind of animosity towards the German, towards excuse me, towards Soviets and kind of Slavic people, because they started seeing them as kind of subhuman, lesser than them, and
Subhuman.
everything
Yeah,
else. Yeah, uh, but uh, really, you didn't had that kind of thinking before that. You
that's
know,
correct.
yeah, now like what is Putin trying to kind of achieve? It's kind of the idea of Tsarist Russia. If
Mm-hmm.
you if you, it's more kind of Christian nation and stuff like that. So I'm not saying that Germans are like kind of okay, we're gonna be the BFF, the best friends,
Yeah,
but I don't think it's just exactly right to call it okay. Nazis are coming to power, so World War Two 2.0, like kind of
okay.
extended edition,
Extended
like
edition. Yeah.
yeah, like I don't like look. First of all, it may end up like that. Like I'm not
Hmm.
saying it that it won't, but I think it's like much more muddier, much more complicated than that. You know,
I
like
okay.
yeah, you can now continue.
So, just a couple points there. So initially, or not initially, in just this prior argument that you made, you stated that the ruling families between the British and the Russians and the Germans were related. That's true, and I will argue that they still went to war, and that didn't stop them from going to war, just because they
I know
had
you're gonna say that, and I have kind of an argument for that also.
you have say that again. You have an argument for that.
Yeah, like well, you have to understand the ideal war at that time before World War One. The ideal war before World War One is like going to be like a noble adventure. Like, and I'm not
War was a
and
noble.
I'm
I'm
not,
sorry, your audio is a little bit cloudy. You're saying
okay, okay.
that they thought that war was a noble adventure.
Yes,
Okay.
basically, like we are gonna have war.
Yeah.
The losing side is gonna give some territory to you. You're gonna give some territory to me, and kind of in the end of the day, it's all fun and games. You know, that's how royal families used to look at those wars. Well, the World War One, because of the technology, ended up being just a giant meat grinder, and basically it
It
was the
was.
first industrial. Can you hear me?
I can hear. I'm just saying. I agree with you. Yeah, it was a giant meat
Yeah,
grinder.
yeah. It was giant meat grinder. It was first industrial war, and that war kind of broke the Europe, broke the kind of it shaken the Europe to its core,
Okay,
really.
I'll respond to that point. Well, before World War One, the biggest war in Europe was the 30 Years' War, and that was the most devastating war that Europe had. And I've heard it argued that it was just proportionate wise, it was actually more brutal than World War One, just given the whole just given how small the population was during the 30 Years' War, and 10 million Europeans were killed. So the fact that World War One was a meat grinder, as you say, shows that they weren't playing around. Like the intention, especially of the Germans, when they intentionally planned out how they were going to pull certain countries into war, it's quite obvious that their intention wasn't to play by some certain standard, because they invaded Belgium knowing that the French would get involved. They got the French involved in the war, knowing that the British would get involved, so they pulled in the British, and then they pulled the British in, knowing that the Russians would get involved. That was the whole strategy of the Germans, and they planned this
Yeah, and
out. They planned this out years prior to the assassination of the Archduke Ferdinand. The assassination was just the pretext that they needed,
yeah,
and they got it.
yeah.
Um,
Someone else. Yeah, the explanation was just like matching the light at the right
it
moment,
was the right
near the
moment. That's
TNT.
right. So, and then after the Archduke was killed, nobody really cared about the Archduke. No one really liked him, but that was
No,
just the
no,
excuse they were looking.
nobody liked it. Like
Yeah, right. So my point is that, well, here's my point. After the Archduke was killed, the Germans and the Austrians were just acting like everything was going to be normal. And then when the Austrians declared war on Serbia, and you know this history better than me, I'm sure, because you're from there.
yeah,
When the Austrians declared war on Serbia, the Germans and the Austrians made it out as if it was just going to be a regional conflict within the Balkans. But it wasn't. It escalated into a full out global conflict in which you had the Ottoman Empire getting involved, eventually the Americans getting involved. Um,
yeah. That's like a kind of if you want to put like the meme that escalated quickly.
say that again,
That's
sorry.
like the meme like wow, that escalated really quickly.
I can't understand the last part you said.
The internet meme, or like
The
kind
meme,
of
yes.
wow,
Which meme are you
yeah, yeah,
talking about?
wow, the meme, wow, that escalated really
Oh, that
quickly.
escalated. Yeah, exactly. So here's a nice historical parallel that I would like to present to you, because you're from the Balkans, and this should really hit right at home, so to speak. So in World War One, the Germans backed the Muslims in the Balkans against the Serbs. I believe they backed the Albanians and the Bosnians, or one of those two. And then even before that, the Austro-Hungarians supported Albanian nationalism to fight the Serbs. Why? Because the Serbs were super pro-Russia even before World War One. The Serbs always had a warm spot for Russia. Then in World War II, the Germans supported the Albanians, the Croatians, the Bosnians, and you know what happened? I think the Croatians were the worst of the Nazi collaborators in the Balkans. I think they were
They
worse.
are they're the worst. We have like saying in Serbia that uh, yeah, I can't really kind of translate it, but it's like potpori cele krajgori, which means like the guy who converted, like the Muslim, like
Mm-hmm.
someone who converted last few days ago. He's always the worst Muslim. He's always like totally into that. Like
Yeah.
like the new convert is always the most zealous. Yeah,
The
that
new
would be
what?
like kind
The
of
new convert.
the
Oh, the
new
new convert. Yeah, yeah,
convert.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
um, new convert
Do you have
is
a computer, by the way? Because your audio is kind of cloudy. It's kind of difficult to understand you.
not. I haven't set it up at this time. If
Gotcha.
we do this another time, I'm gonna
Yeah,
set up
yeah. Next time,
computer. Yeah.
when you get a mic, we should do this again because the audio is difficult for. It's going to be difficult for people to understand this, but we'll continue
Mhm.
on anyway.
Yeah.
So what was I going to tell you? So anyway, World War. So before World War One, there was this supporting of Albanians against Serbs. During World War One, there was this supporting of, I want to say, Bosnians and Albanians against Serbs during World War One. World War Two, you see the same policy where the Germans are backing the Albanians and the Bosnians, and then they're backing the Croatians, the
Even the,
Usasha.
even
But
look,
but
even during the Yugoslav war that this happened. Like same shit. Like
okay, but
you can yeah.
okay, but fast
Uh,
forward to the 1990s, and what do you see? You see the Germans backing the KLA against who? The Serbs. And the KLA were who? They were, I mean, were they Islamist? Sort of, but they were more so, I think, just Albanian thugs. And
yeah,
they were,
they were sad.
yeah,
They
they
were
were
fucking sad.
thugs who were proud of the fact that their grandparents were Nazis. And they wanted to butcher Serbs. And they did. They killed people. They took their organs. I mean, you know the stories.
Yeah, I know the
But the
story. Like
KL, yeah. But the K,
yeah,
my point is that the KLA was backed by the Germans. Why were they being backed by the Germans? Because, well, it was to advance German political leverage, German
I
hegemony in the Balkans.
look
So, like, my point is
look
that no matter where you go, before World War One, during World War One, during World War Two, after World War Two, you see this pattern in the
look.
geopolitics.
Okay, no. I agree with you like 1,000. But here is to get back to the like original topic. In Germany, like see, I don't see like these guys from AfD. I don't see them as like establishment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
I
know what you
see
mean,
them.
but I'll let you finish. Go ahead.
Yeah, I like. I don't see them as establishment. That that establishment are Greens, are liberals, are social democrats. I see this movement, and maybe I'm wrong. First, maybe I'm wrong. I see this movement almost similar to a Trump. Like Trump is definitely not a deep state guy, you know, and he's he gained a lot of power, but he's definitely not a deep state guy.
Mm-hmm.
We can see that, and I kind of see similar things here in Germany, that they are not exactly because we have things like very often when political establishment changes, you know, they don't change their kind of deep state structure. And what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say,
they don't
then
really
like
change their foreign policy.
not foreign politics. They don't change people, for instance, who worked in CIA.
Sure,
They
sure,
don't.
yeah.
Yeah, they don't change people who like work in German secret service. You know, so they continue kind of perpetuating this kind of old wars or old beef. You know, even even if the kind of establishment is changed, but like I see Trump as like a really destructive force to that kind of establishment. And when I say establishment, I mean CIA, NSA, and people who unelected officials
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of power. And I see this party in Germany similar like that.
Okay.
I don't know in which way it's gonna go. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like with Trump, you don't know in which way he's gonna go. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like he's like a wild card.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because and I understand why it's happening. I even understand uh, about like why Germans don't want to kind of talk about Holocaust. They're sick of it, and I know why, and I can explain it. It's pretty simple. Like, oh, you were Nazis, now you have to accept migrants. Oh, you were Nazis, now you have to accept this. Oh no, it's basically same thing as in America. If they say to someone, "You're sexist, racist, homophobic," you know, like it has nothing to do with it, but they're just gonna because you're that you have to accept it, and if you don't accept it, this like you're gonna you're gonna be put in that camp. Now, what ended up happening is like in America, a lot of people who are generally racist, sexist, and homophobic will end up being put in the same camp with like normal people who just don't want some insane policy. And I see same thing happening in Germany, like uh, normal average German people who see a lot of people, especially from Muslim countries, coming, who have a very different culture than them. You know, like it's really different culture. If like it's not same if Croat, Serbian, or Pole come to Germany to work, or some Muslim guy, you know, who don't want to shake hands with women or something like that. It's really different, and I can understand that. And if that guy say, "Oh, look, this Muslim guy, uh, I I'm not comfortable with him having him around, especially near my daughter, especially near my
Mm-hmm.
wife," you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah.
Nazi, look at the Nazi. You know, they're gonna point at him and they're gonna say, "Look at the Nazi." That's in like so then the kind of water becomes more muddier, like more
Mm-hmm.
you know, and probably in that party that in the end there are different factions. There's certainly factions, you know, fractions that are kind of totally like Nazi jihad and all that
Right.
shit, and you have certainly a moderate. You have probably even guys who are maybe also like zealots, but maybe in some other pro-Christian. You
Mm-hmm.
know, let's make it a Christian kind of, like, because right, look, you know, the kind of right movement. If you look in Germany, and even if you look in America, it's not
Mm-hmm.
one thing. It's basically what is right. Right is now anti-woke. You know,
Okay.
look for instance in America. Look at the coalition that's with Trump. Most
Sure.
of them were Democrats. Most of them are like
I
they're
know.
Elon Musk. Yeah, for tech.
I've
You
talked
know,
about this
tech.
before. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I know that they all have like their own like certain crooks and
Mm-hmm.
agendas and everything like that. But the reality is, I don't think that the right now it's one thing. It's basically a giant coalition.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's
I thought you
basically
got
my
cut off
understanding.
there. I thought you got cut off there. Sorry. So I'm gonna respond. I'm
No,
gonna try to respond to everything that you said. All right.
no. Okay.
So give me a moment here. I'm gonna try to respond to
Yeah,
everything that you said here. So the thing is this. When the AFD started to grow in popularity, it was very obvious as to why they grew in popularity. They grew in popularity, and by the way, your voice sounded a lot clearer. So maybe you're speaking at the right angle at your mic. I just wanted to let you know that.
okay.
Um, so the reason why they rose up in popularity, I think it was quite obvious why. It was because of the migrant crisis of 2014 and 2015. and it continued on into 2016 as well. But it really began in late 2014, and it really, really blew up in 2015. And I knew by early 2016, I wrote an article saying this migrant crisis is going to trigger a revival in German nationalism slash Nazism. And I was right, because you're seeing it right before our eyes. Now, the migrant crisis is a like you said, it's a kind of a muddy situation, because you have this whole atmosphere where you have these migrants who have increased the crime rate in Germany, and they really have. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that that's not there, that that's not a thing. It obviously does exist, this problem. The increase in
But
crime, cases of sexual assault, stabbings, etc. It's there, obviously. But you see, that's what makes this whole situation so much more dangerous, this whole political situation so much more dangerous. It's because the response to the migrant crisis is based on legitimate grievances and concerns. That's what makes it so dangerous, because it's a response to a very real problem. So because it's a response to a very real problem, then it's very difficult to tell people not to vote for Nazis, because they're going to say, well, no, they're not really Nazis. They're responding to a real problem. So I've never really had an issue with people saying that they don't want mass migration. I've never said that that's an issue for me. I have never said that, hey, I have never said, hey, if you don't want people from, if you don't want millions of people from Africa entering your country, you're a Nazi, right? You'll never find me saying things like that. My observations have always been very, very specific, very specific. So when I talk about the AFD, I'm not saying, oh, look, guys, they're Nazis because, oh, they say they don't want millions of people from the third world entering Germany. I've never said that. What I have said is look at these specific instances coming out of the party that have happened within the party that are red flags. That's what I have said. So, for example, and I've said this a million times, you have a member of the AFD saying, Hitler, please come back. You have an instance where you have AFD members going to a Holocaust and then questioning the actual history of the Holocaust. Now, you brought up the point that the Holocaust is used as a form of emotional blackmail against the Germans, basically saying, if you don't want these migrants, you're a Nazi, and you guys did the Holocaust, so therefore you have to accept millions of people.
yeah,
Now, I will acknowledge that this is a thing, right? The use of the Holocaust for emotional blackmail, the use of the Holocaust to get money from Germany, that is all a very real thing. Again, I'm
like
not.
in America, you can say you can slave, so you have to do this.
Yeah, you
Like
have to do
same
that. You
thing.
have to give us all this money, and you have to continue to give us money. Now, it's kind of ironic. Well, not ironic, but it's interesting that Poland has been asking Germany for reparations, and they don't. The Germans aren't as nice to the Poles as they are with the Jews. I don't know why. With the Israelis, I'll say, because I'm not sure why. Maybe they just hate the Poles, and the hatred is still there. But there's not much of a. I think it's because there's not much of a cultural expectation
Uh,
to talk about what
I
happened
can
to the
explain
Poles.
that.
But no,
I
no,
can
I know
yeah,
you
I
can.
can
I know you can. But let me just respond to everything you said, and then we can go back. No,
yeah,
no.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's. I think I know what you're going to say. I think you're going to say that there's not a cultural expectation to show mass sympathy for the
Exactly,
Polish
exactly.
people, just like there's no expectation to talk about what the Croats did to the Serbs. There's not an expectation to talk about what happened to the Polish people under the hands of Ukrainian Nazis. I totally get all that stuff. So, like I said, that is a thing. But here's my issue though. My issue is, why go after the narrative of the Holocaust? Why not just say, hey, this is emotional blackmail. This is extortion. We are not Nazis. We want nothing to do with saying we want nothing to do with any sort of sympathy towards the Nazis. But you don't find that in the AFD. What you find are instances where you have actual sympathy for the Nazis. In fact, you had a you've had
No, 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 no. I have to disagree with that. You find you find that, but like you find that like oh like we don't agree with this, but we shouldn't like uh pay basically do this because some of our ancestors did something bad.
but my
You
point.
find that,
Yeah,
yeah,
my
uh,
point is
yeah,
that my point my yeah, I know, but you're going to see that you find that, but you also find other things. You find
yes,
Bjorn Holke
absolutely,
saying, you find
yes,
Bjorn Holke,
absolutely.
you find Bjorn Holke saying that we should have a complete turnaround in how we see the Holocaust. He doesn't like Holocaust memorials. He's sick and tired of seeing them. He talks about how there is a Messiah waiting in the cave in some mountain somewhere, and he's going to come back and bring back the Reich, restore glory to the
Yeah,
Reich. And then you
yeah.
find out that he actually wrote art even before the migrant crisis, years and years before the migrant crisis, many years before the migrant crisis. Bjorn Holke was writing articles that were in defense of the Third Reich, saying that if the Third Reich had won, other countries would have mimicked the Third Reich. That's how great it was. You find all these different examples, and then you have to just look, you have to put them all together. And so you have to start seeing things in light of those examples. Why are these examples existing? Why are these sorts of things being said? When you have also going back to so to respond to what you were saying about the system and how the AFD are outsiders. So the AFD has a think tank. It's called the Defense Working Group. You can look into this. It's on the
Mm.
AFD website. It's all there, and they have former major German military leaders running the whole think tank. We're talking people who were major members, not just within the German armed forces, but also within the NATO military apparatus in Europe. People like
Oh,
Rudiger.
I didn't know that.
Oh,
I
I can
didn't
show.
know that.
I can send you the website. Rudiger.
Yeah, okay, that okay, like that, okay, like that information changes a lot of things. Because excuse me for like interrupting, but a lot of people don't know that lot of the NATO doctrine was made from former Nazi generals and who like through operation, I think it was Operation Paperclip or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
went to the NATO and basically wrote the books how to organize NATO. Because at that time, uh, you know, Americans were keen on kind of getting scientists, getting engineers, and
Yeah,
getting like
Operation
kind of
Paperclip. Yeah.
yeah, paperclip, getting well. One thing that people don't know, they even took some like German generals like
Mm-hmm.
with that operation. That's why you get like a lot of books about World War II written by German generals.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah, the EU
uh,
also was partially founded by Nazi leaders as well.
yeah. You had like Nazis functioning in Spain. I think Spain was like their center of operation, if I'm not really mistaken.
I think that so. Just to finish my point, and then I want to bring up another point and this is a point that I
Mhm,
wanted to bring up with you. So going back to the
mhm,
AFD working group, it is filled with the entire think tank is made up of former German military leaders, some of whom were
mhm,
quite big. So, for example, part of the think tank is Joachim Wundrock. Look up Joachim Wundrock. This guy was a major player in NATO up until a few years ago. Like he was just 6 years ago, 5, 6 years ago, this guy was a major officer within the NATO, the European branch for NATO, the
mhm.
part of the NATO defense for Europe. And what were they doing? I mean, these people were
Yeah, yeah.
supporting Ukraine. They were against Russia, the whole thing.
Yeah, no,
But
that 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 changes a lot of things. Like I really didn't know that because I was looking from the other side, kind of almost average people. Like kind of average supporters. I haven't, to
okay,
be honest, I haven't looked at the kind of top structure in that think tank. I kind of looked the kind of grassroots part of it.
hmm
You know,
that's
you know.
fair.
So
Right,
you
right.
know so like I come from that kind of view, and this is kind of view that I get kind of. And first of all, like when you look view like that, it's much harder to sense things, to kind of go by the smell, by the feel. It's not really
Yeah.
like how people are having like a giant think tank or a giant you kind of see the kind of inklings on the forums and stuff like that.
So if you look
If
at
that makes
the
any sense.
yeah, well, just to address the average person uh, predicament, a lot of Germans supported the Nazis not because they wanted death camps. They didn't say, "Oh, we're voting for Nazis because we want death camps." They said, "We're
mm,
voting for the Nazis because we want to fight Bolshevism. We're tired of Marxist agents, Marxist saboteurs in our country." That's one of the main reasons why they voted for Adolf Hitler. And Adolf Hitler said that he was going to address the Bolshevik threat. And there was indeed a Bolshevik threat within Germany. It was a real problem. So, for example, you had the Spartacus uprising, you had the Bavarian uprising, you had, I think, also an uprising or some kind of an attempt at a Marxist revolution in Hamburg, if I'm not mistaken.
mm.
And in all of those uprisings, what do you find? You find rebels who were Marxist or leftist, and a lot of them were Jewish. So the Nazis used those facts to empower their own position, to bolster up their
And,
own
and,
position.
and,
Just like,
and
just like,
yeah, yeah,
but just like you have the AfD using real problems to bolster up their own position. Political parties are going to use real problems and they're going to address real grievances to gain the support of the masses. This is just a given fact. This is a Machiavellian reality of politics. That's the
yeah,
threat
yeah.
that you have to keep in mind. You have to keep in mind that, yes, they are going to point to real problems, but one thing that you have to question is their motivations. That's their motivation. What is their motivation? That's the question. So, yes, Bolsheviks are a problem, absolutely. But what's Hitler's motivation? Yes, migrant criminals are a problem, or foreign ethnic groups have criminals amongst them. Yes, that's a real problem. But what is the motivation behind it? And so that's why I say look at these specific examples that are truly, truly red flags. Another thing that I will add is that if you look at the AFD's military plans, militarist plans, I should say, it's very, very concerning because you know how Trump has been for years been saying that the EU needs to pay their fair share for NATO, which is at least 2% of a country's GDP. Well, the AFD wants to go way past 2%. They want to spend probably 4 or 5%, maybe even more. They want to
Good luck
integrate
with that now.
they want to
Just joking.
they want to integrate the civilian life with the militarist life. They want to make a massive army that would not only be used to defend Germany, which is something that every country has a right to do, but also to help their allies. They talk about helping their allies within Europe, or well, who are Germany's allies within Europe? Scandinavia, the Baltic countries, etc. They're really the way I look at it is the AFD is sympathetic to Russia, or they have expressed disagreement, let's just say, with the proxy war in Ukraine. But I don't think that's because they're sympathetic with Russia. I think it's just because they do not like the fact that this is America's war and Germany is being demanded to do America's bidding. They want to be, and you said this yourself, you said this earlier in our discussion, that they want independence from American power, and that is true. So I think this is more about autonomy than being friendly with Russia, because
Yeah,
even
but
let's say that the AfD or some kind of Nazi party takes complete control, some kind of German ultranationalist party takes control of Germany. They will pursue major militarist goals. They will expand German militarism. They're going to make it huge, much bigger than it already is. And at the same time, realpolitik and geopolitics are still going to be there. Germany is not going to cancel its alliance with Turkey, even though Turkey is a predominantly Muslim country. Well, why not? Well, because Turkey
yeah, doing
guards
your shit about it.
access into the Mediterranean.
Yes,
Germany
yes.
isn't all of a sudden going to say, oh, okay, Russia, we're friends with you now, so you can just continue on your influence in the Balkans. You can continue on your influence in Serbia. Yeah, that's fine. No, Germany is still going to have anti-Russian policy in the Balkans to prevent Russian leverage, Russian influence in that region. Germany
But
is not going to overnight say, "Okay, Russia, you can influence the Baltic states." You can influence Lithuania, you can influence Estonia or Latvia. That's not going to happen. Realpolitik and geopolitics will remain.
yeah, it's really funny because when you were talking about that, I like a lot of people in the West don't know, but Russia at one point like really had his uh, really liked German. I mean, like Okay, so now you have to understand Russia is a big country. There are different factions in Russia again, but like Putin and a lot of his faction had like this kind of wet dream of kind of almost like having like really close ties to Germany one day, because
Okay.
their thinking was like, imagine Russia with all of those resources and everything else,
Sure.
like, and Germany with all that manpower and everything like that, and like kind of accepting Russia, that Russia is finally like European nation, like
Mm-hmm.
kind of coming to this was like the wet dream for kind of for Russia, like like legit, like kind of almost almost how to put it like if there is some like political and almost and military union with Germany,
Sure.
like like that was the Russians' wet dream, like like
Yeah.
that was their like, oof, if that happens, all of our problems are like solved, like for years and years.
Yeah, because you would have Germany, which is this major power in the middle of Europe, and then that way Russia wouldn't have to worry about being invaded by Europeans. Wouldn't
Yeah,
have to worry
we
about
can.
Poland. Wouldn't have to worry about whatever Ukraine.
Yeah, we can buy them with like cheap gas, cheap oil.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they would like basically live
Yeah.
basically like kings and everything. Like Germany would be like industrial powerhouse, like
Mm-hmm.
with our resources, like that to them. And if you really think about it, it's really logical. It's not really like like kind of it's absolutely logical if you want long term stability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
yeah, yeah. But you have NATO, you have America, and what did Trump say? You are relying too much on the Russian gas.
That's right.
You know, you need to break that apart.
Right,
You
and
know,
that proves, and just to add something to that, that proves that Trump isn't exactly the outsider people think he is. And I've never really
no,
bought into that Trump is this major
no, no, no,
outsider.
no, 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 no. He's look. I think he's an outsider, but he's also America first. Like he isn't some guy who is like labby dabby. I don't start new wars. No, no, no. He's America first. But the problem with American insiders is not that they are America first. They're pockets first, then America. Maybe that's the big difference.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the big
Yeah,
difference between
Trump is a
and
nationalist. He's a
yeah,
nationalist slash
yeah,
isolationist.
populist. Yeah, populist, isolationist, but
Not really.
only
Well, okay, I'll just say that maybe not an isolationist, but he's more of a non-interventionist. But the fact that he was pressuring Germany about buying, the fact that he was bashing Germany for buying Russian oil shows that he is still going to continue somewhat the narrative that America
he is a
wants
businessman.
to
He
get
is first
pushed.
and foremost businessman, and he wants uh, like uh, he understands that he can throw his weight around and power around without starting a war. He's smart with that. Like
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of your politicians think that war is a solution. No, war very often creates more problems than it solves.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, they think they have like this magical buttons. First button is like sanction, and second button is like the war.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it doesn't work like that. It creates ton of problems. It creates ton of problems for you, first of all. You know, and I don't think that a lot of your politicians are kind of capable of seeing that, like, or they are, but they have their own interests first and foremost, and their bodies who put them in office, then America and American economy and American
Mm-hmm.
people. But that's like a story for another time.
Yeah, I actually have to get going in a little bit here because I have to prepare for my stream. I have to eat something because I'm going to be talking for 5 hours. So
Want,
I have to get the
I just want,
calories in.
yeah, yeah. I just want to have like one question.
Sure.
Like, I want to give first like one point at the end about the Germany like kind of reinventing the army and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The the native Germans have very very little base, point 0.6.
Say that again.
Do
Point
you
six of what?
no 0.6, zero
I don't
point
understand
0.6?
what of what though.
Okay, imagine you have two people, like one couple. You know, one couple. If you want to have like a replacement, you will have to have two children. Yes, simple mathematics. Do you understand me what I'm
Oh,
talking?
you're talking about the population
Yeah, the
the
population.
population reproduction increase, yes, or rate.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. For what is the kind of the German average 0.6. Every second couple has a one child.
Okay.
Let me just who is gonna go in German army, like foreigners? I just don't see this happen.
So what I'll say to that is Russia also had a population problem or a slow reproductive rate or birth rate, just to put it simply, before going to war in Ukraine, and they are still at war. And Russia is saying that they're going to
They're
form.
okay.
Russia is saying that
The
they're going to form a 1+ million man army, and that's
let
with
me
their
explain.
slow birth rate.
Yeah, let me explain you also one thing. Russian Muslims will fight for Russia. I'm not sure that American Muslims, excuse me, that German Muslims will fight for Germany.
Well, okay, so by next year, there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people who will turn 18. If you look at the Russian population, or sorry, the German population is over 80 million.
Yes.
If you look at the population of young people, it's still in the millions. And if Germany has to, it can amass an army of millions. Now you're going to say, well, uh, the Syrian people aren't going to fight, but Syrian people are a minority. No matter how you look at it, they are a minority. The majority of people in Germany are still white, and
Yeah,
you can
but you
still
have like how many millions of Turks? How many millions?
well, okay, I'll address that, but you can still get. My point is that even with the ethnic minority population, you can still amass an army of millions of men if you have to. Germans are a
Yeah,
very obedient people. And I'm not insulting them. That's their society. That's how they are. They're very
yeah, that's how they function.
conformist.
Yeah,
They're very conformist people. They're like the Japanese. They're way more obedient than the Americans are. Americans are very rebellious people, and that can be a good thing, and that can also be a
yeah.
bad thing. Even with the Turkish population. So let's talk about the Turkish population. Now, I'm not 100% certain what's going to happen in the future between Germany and Turkey, but what I do know is that Turkey is still well connected with its Turkish diaspora in Germany. People in Germany vote, I believe, for Turkish elections, which is crazy, but that
Yes,
happens. And there is a very strong Kemalist ideology within Turkey and amongst the Turkish population. And Kemal Ataturk was an atheist. He wasn't a Muslim, but he was able to unite both the secular Turks and the Muslim Turks to come together. And also in World War One, during World War One, the Young Turks took over Turkey, and they were atheists. They were not Muslims, and they managed to use the Muslims to butcher the Armenians,
yes,
and
yes. I know.
they still managed to lead Muslims to go fight the Russians during World War One.
Mm,
So my point is, because I don't think Germany is going to cut off its ties with Turkey. I don't think that's going to
mm,
happen. So I could totally see maybe the Turkish government saying we have to join in this fight together against the Russians, and the ethnic Turks, many ethnic Turks, wouldn't mind joining the German armed forces. Now you're going to say, well, how could that happen under, let's say,
No, no, no,
a net?
I can see that happen.
Okay, okay,
I can
okay,
totally,
okay. I thought, okay, fine.
I can totally
got
see
a
that
little
happen.
bit I got a little bit frustrated because you disrupted me because you're going to see it in the camera, but I'm just letting you know, okay, because I don't want to hide that.
Yeah.
But my point is, you could say, well, how could that happen under a nationalist government? Well, I'll give you a little example. I'll give you a little interesting story here. So in Europe, there is a very popular nationalist leader in Belgium. His name is Philip de Winter. Philip de Winter has been one of the masterminds behind helping to revive European nationalism, believe it or not. His name is Philip de Winter. You can look him up. Philip de Winter
Mhm.
has collaborated with Turkish nationalists because in Turkey there is a nationalist party, or there's a couple of big nationalist parties, and
Mhm.
he actually had dinner with some major leaders of a Turkish nationalist party in Belgium. So he doesn't mind collaborating with them. These nationalists don't mind working with Turks if they have a common interest, just like the Germans didn't mind working with the Japanese or working with Arabs for that matter, even though Arabs
The
were
enemy of my
considered.
enemy is my friend.
What's that?
The enemy of my enemy is
Right.
my friend.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So there's one more thing I'll ask you, and then I need to go because I need to eat something. So
Mhm.
I'll ask you something. So Croatia committed a horrible massacre of the Serbian people. Right, they butchered hundreds of thousands of Serbs, at least hundreds of thousands, may have been a million Serbs. And there was there were these horrific death camps that the Croatians had, and this was all under the Third Reich when Croatia was under the Third Reich. What would happen? I mean, what would you think if there was a party in Croatia that rose up and they said, "Listen, we don't want war with Russia, but we're sick and tired of hearing about the evils of the Ustasha. Croatians need to be more proud of their history, more proud of their culture, and we need to get our military really, really powerful." In fact, the Croatians, I believe, are working on making their military more powerful. Um, and they said, "Hey,
Sorry.
we're so tired of hearing about what's the name of that concentration camp that was in Croatia? What was it called?
Jasenovac.
What was it called?
Jasenovac. Jasenovac.
Okay, well, I can't I can't pronounce it.
Jasenovac.
Yasinovac, yeah. So we're tired of hearing about the
Jasenovac.
Yasinovac camp. Not all Croatian Ustasha people were bad. There were some great Ustasha guys. They were simply patriots who were fighting against Bolshevism.
That's already happened long time ago.
You're right. You're right. But what would you think
No, no,
about
no,
that?
no, 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 no. Okay, let me explain. Okay, in Croatia, in Hrvatska, Croatia, nobody, nobody is thinking about Ustašan warfare. Like they don't teach that in schools. They just ignore that part.
What would you think
Like
though if there was a Croatian nationalist party that rose up and said the Ustasha wasn't really so bad, and we're sick and tired of hearing about whatever the Ustasha did in the past. Not all of them were that bad, and
that's average.
We Croats have to be a proud people again and make our
That's
military
that's
strong.
that's average. That's look. That's average Croatian guy right now. Not
I know.
not
I agree.
right now. Like mine is the military part. You know, mine is the
Well, I
military
think
part.
they're working to
Like
get their military stronger. The Croatians are.
they look young people in Croatia just want to go abroad, be hip, be gay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they. Excuse me.
Dude, what happened to your mic? You sound so much
They,
clearer.
oh, sorry.
No, no, no. Before. What did you do before? You did something before.
Be hip, be gay, be whatever,
No, no,
be
no,
pro
no, 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 no,
European
no.
Union.
You did something to your mic, and you sounded 100% clear.
I had a phone call and I ended it, so I don't know what
Oh my
happened.
gosh, your voice sounded 100% perfect. I don't know. I don't know what you did, but yeah.
Yeah, basically that's Croatian, Croatia now. But the problem is like young people are not really interested anymore. Basically, like they are just not interested. Like they just don't give a shit. Like in Croatia, they don't want to be even Croatian. They want to be like this part of the new global homo world,
NATO.
and yeah, NATO.
Mm-hmm.
Like like kind of global citizens, like this type of shit. Like they don't want to be like they don't care. Like literally, they don't care. But in Croatia, in Croatia, like Ustaša, like you go and ask like Harvard Cross, like what is Ustaša? Well, I don't know. They killed some some partisans, they killed some Croats, some Serbs, some look, they don't know. They just don't know. They just like it's like scary.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
Like
but
they
I understand. But
you know,
my yeah, go ahead.
yeah. I just like yeah. We went way too long. I just have one question, and we're ending this,
Okay.
and it's a short one.
Okay.
If you're like a German citizen
A normal
right now,
citizen. Okay.
yeah, no, and you have to vote, for who do you vote?
Who would I vote for?
Yeah,
I wouldn't vote for anybody. I don't really vote. I just observe
yeah,
things.
yeah, but you have to like imagine you have to vote for whatever reason.
I
You
wouldn't
have to
vote.
vote.
I wouldn't vote for a Nazi party. That's for certain. I would vote
Who would
for
you vote?
more of a moderate party if I had to. Maybe Christian Democrats. I don't know. But I wouldn't vote
Yeah,
for a party that has an openly Nazi element within it.
but
That's
that moderate party will drain your resources and push you towards war with
yeah. But
Ukraine.
if the AFD takes full power, you're talking about a full militarist society, and they're pushing exactly, which is exactly what they're pushing in their own policy agenda.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Anyhow,
you have to just observe things objectively anyway. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, basically, how they put it in America, you're stuck between rock
Rock in
and
a
a hard
hard
place.
place, exactly. Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's what makes the whole situation so much more dangerous. I think.
yeah. There are no good answers. There are no good solutions.
Yeah,
That's the
the
biggest
train has been
problem.
set. Yeah.
Yeah, or like
All right. Yeah.
that's
Go
that's the
ahead.
scariest part. Anyhow, let's
Anyway.
end this. You
Okay.
know, this was really fun. Sorry about my audio, which was like
I know, but you
really.
did something to your phone a minute ago where you sounded perfectly clear. I don't know what you said. Somebody called you and you
Yeah,
blocked
yeah.
the call.
Yeah, I blocked the call. I don't know what happened.
Your voice
I'm
sounded
gonna figure it
perfect.
out.
I don't know what
Yeah,
happened.
yeah.
But the next time,
Uh,
if you can get yourself, if you can set up a computer and then use either the built-in microphone. If you get a Mac, the built-in mics in the Macs are pretty good.
no one in here use Mac.
Okay, so
Like
do you guys have Mac? Can you buy Macs over there?
we can, but they're like so expensive
Oh, very
and
expensive. Okay,
so not worth like because they have like their own proprietary software and stuff like that.
gotcha,
It's just pain in a you know ass.
gotcha. So yeah, if you can get yourself a decent mic and maybe even a
Yeah,
webcam, we can do this again.
yeah,
But
sure.
I'm gonna
Like
post this conversation up anyway, but we can do it again.
yeah, like if you don't want to pause this conversation, that's totally okay. Just I would like to kind of you can put it somewhere so I can just listen to it to see how was I doing, because
Sure,
this is first time for me doing something like this, and this
that's
is like
fine.
for me very good practice.
Okay, all right
Um,
then.
Anyhow, this was like really fun. Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye bye.
absolutely. All right, bye bye.